Hi. In my last video I said that as much as it seems that I'm in the tank for Tommy Robinson, I'm actually not, because it's not clear to me whether he wants to defeat Islam with democracy or dictatorship, and I'm going to explain why. But first of all, I'll explain why I do have so much sympathy for him, like so much of Middle Britain does. Martin Luther King once said of John F. Kennedy that he is humble before the people and bold on their behalf. And I very much see Tommy Robinson in that light. I think a lot of people would. I see a genuine decency and compassion in him. The courage with which he speaks the truth about Islam is the stuff of which national heroes are made. He has the makings of a Churchill. What troubles me is this.
As I've said, we are here today to tell you quite loud, quite clear, every single Muslim watching this video on YouTube. On 7/7, you got away with killing and maiming British citizens. You got away with it. Next time you think about it, you better understand that we have built a network from one end of this country to the other end. We will not tolerate it, and the Islamic community will feel the full force of the English Defence League if we see any of our citizens killed, maimed or hurt on British soil ever again.
This is what UKIP leader Gerard Batten claimed to believe he meant by that.
BBC. No, I asked you at the beginning, you support a man who says that the community, the Islamic community, will feel the full force of the English Defence League if we see any of our British citizens killed, maimed or hurt on British soil ever again.
That may mean that they were going to turn up and demonstrate against it. It doesn't say that they're going to be violent.
What's the full force?
Well, if people turn out in a mass demonstration, that's full force, isn't it?
And this is what Tommy Robinson said about that in an interview with Harry Richardson.
Well, look, mine. First of all, the one quote that they asked Gerard Batten about, one thing I said, it's the same thing every time. I've done speeches at over 100 rallies. I've had undercover footage on me for years. Yeah. Out of all of those years, 12 years of standing and combating Islam in Britain, they've got one thing I said in a speech. That's all they've got. That's all they've got. And that one thing I said in a speech was at a time when I was leading the English Defence League. Yeah. We were a pressure movement to put pressure on the Islamic community to deal with the radicals in their midst. And I said, every single Muslim watching this, listen loud, listen clear. If we see our British citizens murdered, raped, murdered and blown up again in our country, then you'll feel the full force of this movement. Yeah? Yeah. Now, I've apologised for that. It could have been said in a better way. At that moment, at that time, I was a 25-year-old young man who was leading Europe's biggest street protest movement, and I felt it was our job to put pressure, and that was it. So that's all they have.
He's sorry. It was a bad choice of words. Full force of the EDL meant pressure. What a brazen, barefaced lie. Let's hear what he said again.
Quite clear, every single Muslim watching this video on YouTube. On 7/7, you got away with killing and maiming British citizens. You got away with it. Next time you think about it, you better understand that we have built a network from one end of this country to the other end. We will not tolerate it, and the Islamic community will feel the full force of the English Defence League if we see any of our citizens killed, maimed or hurt on British soil ever again.
It could not be more obvious that what he meant was indiscriminate violence against Muslims in reprisal for terrorist attack. If it needs to be made more obvious for you, I shall make it more obvious for you. EDL did not stand for English Demonstration League. It stands for English Defence League. It was organised into divisions like an army. Its marches were a show of force. Stephen Yaxley Lennon adopted the name Tommy Robinson from a renowned Luton Town football hooligan. The EDL was a hooligan army.
The English Defence League promised a peaceful protest in Hanley Town Centre yesterday, but looking at previous demonstrations in Birmingham, Manchester, Leeds and Nottingham, it would be hard to believe these protesters will be bringing guitars and singing to John Lennon.
Still needs to be made more obvious for you.
Perhaps politicians who live a very comfortable life far away from the areas infested with the religion of peace should give some serious consideration into resigning, as they're failing the UK in this spectacular fucking fashion. I have said time and time again, if we don't get this issue dealt with, then the British public will. They will end up taking matters into their own hands. Take Northern Ireland as a prime example. Militias will be set up, and then the UK government will have a problem beyond their wildest dreams. Inaction will only facilitate the creation of a disgruntled and angry population who will end up cleaning out this Islamic problem.
Still not obvious enough. Here are the tweets from Tommy Robinson after Mr. Darren Osborne murdered Mr. Mahram Ali. At a bare minimum, those tweets mitigate indiscriminate violence against Muslims in reprisal for terrorist attack. While Tommy Robinson keeps lying about what he's said, the media will keep asking him about what he's said, and rightly so. And much of the Middle Britain that has so much sympathy for him for speaking the truth about Islam will continue to hold back from supporting him. Unless we have a democratic revival in our country, the chances of which are so remote it does not bear thinking of. Things are going to get so desperate in our country that the Middle Britain, currently yearning for a Churchill to deliver Britain from Islam, will become more than happy to settle for a Hitler. When that day comes, and it is coming, we will have a civil war between the far right and the Islamic Correctnik axis, and the tyranny that comes out of that will be more evil than anything we can possibly imagine. If Tommy Robinson wants to be a Churchill and not a Hitler, he needs to stop lying to the British people. If he wants to defeat jihad to defend British democracy, it would be so easy for him to put out a video in which he is honest about what he said and apologises for it. making clear that he's turned his back on that way of thinking and pledges to work with left, right and centre for a democratic revival to destroy political correctness and defeat jihad. But he doesn't, does he? While Tommy Robinson keeps lying to the British people, this Middle Britain, at the very least, will never support him. Take care. God bless.